Why you should sell your Newport Beach home before July 2024. The NAR settlement exposed. This is a big topic right now.
Yeah, maybe we're being a little dramatic with that intro there, but you don't need to sell your home before July, but the industry is going to be changing in a major way here come July.
Yeah, and before we get into it, let's talk about how commissions work now so that you guys will really understand how the industry is going to change.
Yeah.
So as of right now, the way commissions work is the listing agent will meet with the seller, they will negotiate a total commission, and then the listing agent will offer a buyer's agent cooperating commission as an incentive for the buyer's agent to bring their client to that property and help them sell it.
And that is paid for by the seller in full.
And it is advertised up front. So if you're a buyer's agent and you're looking on the MLS for a client and you find a property for them, you'll know exactly how much you'll be getting paid if you are able to successfully help that client buy a place.
And it's advertised on the MLS right now, and you always know.
Yep.
Actually, it's advertised on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia as well.
Yep, it's become very transparent, and it's the way we've been doing real estate for decades.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit now about the NAR, the National Association of Realtors lawsuit.
In October of 2023, a group of homeowners got together and they started a class action suit versus the National Association of Realtors. Several large brokerages were involved. The lawsuit basically was just challenging the cooperative compensation rule. So they were saying it was requiring seller agents to make a blanket unilateral offer for compensation. They challenged that model and that notion, basically claiming commission collusion with the goal to decouple commissions is kind of the goal.
Yeah, I mean, this was a huge lawsuit, $1.8 billion, basically saying agents are getting paid way too much, commissions are high, and home prices are artificially inflated.
Right. So in March of 2024, there was a major settlement that came, a $418 million settlement calls for NAR to eliminate decades the old rules on commissions and make it easier for buyers to negotiate fees there. Yeah, easier, which I don't know what easier means.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, so buyers are now going to negotiate a fee with their buyer's agent or not use a buyer's agent.
Yeah, so there's a lot of uncertainty in the air, but the bottom line is what does this mean to the general consumer? Well, there's two major changes that are coming up. They say July. It may happen in July, it may happen later, but the bottom line is there's two major changes.
Yeah.
The first is that sellers will no longer have to offer a buyer's agent cooperating commission in the multiple listing service. It doesn't say sellers don't have to pay commissions.
And it doesn't say they are forbidden from offering a commission.
Exactly. It just says that there's no longer going to be a line item in the MLS, the multiple listing service, that says if you bring your buyer, you will get paid X. That's the first major change.
Yes. The second one is that there needs to be a buyer-broker agreement in place for a buyer's agent to be working with the buyer, even to show and write offers on the property.
These are two really big changes.
Right, because just to give you perspective, right now, that is not required. Some people are diligent about getting a buyer broker, basically stating, I'm your agent, you're obligated to work with me, and some people just don't do it.
You know, when I got into the business about 18, 19 years ago, my broker didn't push buyer-broker agreement. And so I was never really formally trained on the process. And the way I did business was, my goal was to not really have a client sign a contract with me on the buy side, but it was really more around, I'm gonna earn their business every day by bringing value to them every single day, and they're not gonna wanna leave me. And I've built a very successful business on this model. But now, even though that's not how I do business, by law now, if I have a buyer that wants to work with me or anybody on the team, that buyer now has to sign an agreement saying, I will exclusively work with you.
Yeah.
Huge change.
It is a major change, and it's just another step, another form to fill out with a lot of forms and things to fill out in real estate as it is, but it's just an extra step. So I think going forward, let's discuss a little bit about what this could look like for the landscape here, what it could mean for listing agents, what it can mean for buyer's agents, sellers, and buyers.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I want to talk about is this is probably one of the most unaffordable markets, and for now the buyer to somewhat be responsible to have to pay the buyer's agent is probably the biggest blow, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because it's already so tough for these buyers to buy in this market right now.
Add another 2 to 3% just makes it that much more challenging.
Right.
So I'm with you. I mean, look, we can sit here for hours and speculate how it's all going to go down.
Yeah.
But until we actually go through this type of market for a year or two, we're not really going to know how it's all going to play out. But I think if I'm looking into the future, I'm seeing sellers the majority of the time still paying the buyer's agent's commission.
Right.
It's just not going to be advertised in the MLS. What it's going to be now, it's going to be one more line item that an agent will have to negotiate when they submit an offer.
Right. I mean, and so it's not going to be advertised. You're going to ask the question, are you offering a commission? And if the buyer can't afford it, there is ways for them to get it still paid for by the seller through seller concessions, financing it, various different ways, which we've already started to discuss that there's going to be workarounds on that as well too. So it is going to change the landscape, and the headlines are definitely making a big deal about this in the media right now. But just know that most is going to be business as usual, and if it's not, there's just going to be other steps in place to make sure that everybody is in the right position.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to point out is right now, as you run data, like if a seller calls us and says, Ryan, what is my home worth? We're going on the MLS and we're looking at the active sales or the active inventory, the pending sales, and the closed sales. And all those closed sales, as of now, are considering a buyer's agent commission and a listing agent's commission. Right. So if the buyer's agent commission is no longer needed to be paid for by the seller, are the prices going to adjust?
Right.
Are they not going to adjust? So again, this is what's going to come as part of the shakeout of this whole change, this disruption in the industry. But the cool thing is Freddie Mac has actually announced that they will not be, if the buyer's agent commission is negotiated within the contract, Freddie Mac will, for conforming loans, will not take that, count that against the credits that the buyer wants.
Right.
So this is just one example of how different parts of the industry is already pivoting and changing to accommodate this change.
Right. Because at the end of the day, let's be realistic here. Do you think a seller is going to offer 2 or 3%, or want to put their house on the market for 2 or 3% less and not offer the commission?
No, I don't see prices changing. I see prices continuing to go up, and we just have to get creative. It's just another line item that we have to negotiate. I'm sure the residential purchase agreement will change.
It will.
There'll be a line item for commission, and now it's just one more thing that agents have to negotiate as they help their clients navigate this already complicated real estate market. So a lot of changes happening. This is what we think. We'd love to know what you guys think. Let us know in the comments below. If you have questions or want to learn more about this in detail, like I know we just threw a lot of information, feel free to reach out to us. Let us know, comment here what you think, and if you have questions, we'll definitely answer them. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you next time.